like to welcome everyone this evening to the August 24th, 2020 Common Council meeting at 7 p.m. Could we please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Carol.
Steve Beardsley.
Here.
Mike Bright.
Here.
Grant Fuller.
Here.
Joe Palmer. Megan Sheets.
Present.
Clarence Worthen.
Present.
Eric Woods.
Okay, next on the agenda, is the minutes from August 10th, the regular meeting. I would entertain a motion to pass those.
So moved. Second.
So we have a first from Steve and a second from Grant. Steve Beardsley.
Aye.
Mike Bright.
Aye.
Grant Fuller.
Aye.
Megan Sheets. Aye. Clarence Worthen.
Aye.
Eric Woods.
Aye.
Minutes are passed. I don't believe we have any public comments tonight. We do. Is that correct? Okay. Thank you. Next, I'm going to recess the council meeting for the public hearing, and this is on ordinance 20-13, which is in reference to our water rate hikes. At 7:01. Okay, now open the public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to say anything, or do we have any comments? Todd, would you like to explain this to us a little bit, the information that you gave us?
Yeah, this was a handout that was done before, and in the chart, it showed all the rate increases in total instead of in 3 phases. And this was broken out into where we would be compared to other communities with phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. And so we just brought up for more information tonight. Page 2 is the same information, just a bar graph showing the comparison once again to other cities and communities around us and throughout the state.
Did anyone have any questions for Todd?
Jude, also on this, some of these are going to change because some of the communities that are on here are also going through rate increases as well. So with time, this will fluctuate a little bit more, but we're pretty solid where our numbers are.
So this is just our changes, it does not include any
Does
changes?
not include the other city changes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Is there any other comments? Nick, did you have anything for us this evening?
Nothing further.
Okay. I'm going to close the public hearing at 7:03 and reopen the council meeting. Next on the agenda is ordinance 20-13, and that is on third reading. And is there a certain way, Carol, that you said we need to? Did we need different motions?
Mr. Kyle, I don't believe we need 2 different motions. I think we just need to reference that we're passing it as amended.
It was amended at the last council. So you're passing it to the last council.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions on that? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to pass this on third and final reading.
Motion by Grant. Mike.
Okay.
Second by Mike.
Roll call, please.
Steve Beardsley.
Aye.
Mike Bright.
Aye.
Grant Fuller.
Aye.
Megan Sheets.
Aye.
Clarence Worthen.
Aye.
Eric Woods.
Aye.
Ordinance 20-13 passes. Clarence, and you said you did talk to Todd about when this goes into effect, is that correct?
It'll be between now and October 1st.
Okay,
Definitely be in by October 1st.
okay, thank you, Clarence. Okay, next on the agenda is old business, and I have asked Jason Forsythe, Street Department Superintendent, to provide us with some information on State Road 28 and County Road 200 West. It is a traffic signal versus a roundabout, so he's been collecting some information for us.
Thank you, Mayor.
Should we have it? Okay. Turn it down.
Thanks, Mayor, I appreciate it. As you know, we talked a little bit last go around about State Road 20 and 200 West. In the meantime, I've been speaking with Shane Spears from NDOT, and I think I've copied you guys on some of these, so you may be reading or hearing things that you may already know about. Some of our concerns with stoplight versus roundabout. As Eric and I were talking, everybody was talking last go around. We're looking at probably a 70-30 ratio probably between State Road 28 and County Road 200 West. So we wanted to look, the first thing we wanted to look at is what the traffic flow on 28 would be with the, there being type of traffic backup on 28 or maybe an issue on 200 West. And Shane basically said a traffic operations analysis was completed as part of the draft engineer reported by Fairman Cycle. We are not showing significant traffic backups as a traffic signal option. A signal can be set up only to stop State Road 28 traffic when there are vehicles waiting to go straight on or turn left on County Road 200 and East Side Street. Vehicles can be delayed to increase efficiency on State Road 28. In summary, the signal can be set up to minimize delays on State Road 28, which I guess is a good answer in regards to the stoplight there. As I said, I believe I said in the last meeting, you go down State Road 38, we really don't see that issue on State Road 38 by SIA, so I don't see that we would have that problem on 28. And Shane's answer there kind of supports that. I asked about benefits of a roundabout versus a stoplight. Obviously, we have a ton of semi-traffic that will be coming off 200 from the north and going west. He had several answers. Have significant safety benefits. Roundabout can be constructed with a bypass lane to serve the southbound to westbound semi-traffic. A roundabout is a traffic calming measure, as we all know, slows things down a little bit. As far as capacity, the roundabout moves the morning and afternoon peak hour traffic through the intersection with less average delay than a traffic signal. And I sent some information there, and that's in that packet that you have. During off-peak hours, the roundabout really reduces delays through less on County Road 200. No sitting idly waiting for a light to turn green. So, some of the disadvantages of a roundabout versus a signal: higher initial cost for NDOT and larger footprint. A 2-lane roundabout is proposed due to traffic volumes. With uninterrupted traffic flow, roundabouts can be challenging for pedestrians and bicycles, particularly those with disabilities, and significant pedestrian volumes are anticipated. I don't think we'll see a lot of pedestrian, obviously, and I might see some bicycles out there, but not a lot in that area. And there's no priority given to emergency vehicles. So, I discussed that with John and Scott. John, while we're on this, John had talked to Westfield, I believe it's their deputy chief, and they do not have any issues at all with roundabouts in their area. They actually, the individual usually used to have a 45 to 50 minute drive from his home to his work, obviously in his own personal vehicle, but that roundabouts have slowly, have increased, slowed down that opportunity to get from where he's at. It's taken 20 minutes versus 45 minutes is what it used to be with stoplights. So just kind of a little feedback there, in addition to just emergency vehicles only. So John did say that the traffic incidents, the accidents that occur are obviously side swipe accidents going at a much slower speed than you would be if someone ran a red light and hit someone out there. So I'm going to kind of bounce around, but at the end we'll have, if you have questions, I'll be able to answer them, because there's been a lot of emails sent back and forth. One of the concerns the city had going into this, and that State Road 28 job let out back in May. So it's not going, in what we've said in the past, it's not going to push that State Road 28 project back. What it might do is if we just go with a roundabout, the roundabout would start to be worked in after the completion of the State Road 28 project. If it's a traffic light that we decide to go with, that can be put in sometime during the operations of the actual State Road 28 project. So I think people were concerned that the 28 project itself all the way through town was going to be delayed. That's not the case. It will only be the roundabout, and the roundabout will be put in at enough expense, except for what I would say any decoration or anything that we would want to do. That would be a city responsibility. So I wanted to make that clear, make sure everybody was understanding there on the roundabout versus the stoplight on the project itself. Eric and I kind of spoke a little bit after we got that information back about if we do put a roundabout in, will that stop traffic out there completely? Are we going to be detoured off of State Road 28? Because that's obviously something that's very important. And when I asked Shane that, he really couldn't give me a good direct answer. A lot of times they might build an extra lane on one side or the other. As Eric and I talked, there's not a lot of room on that John Deere side to be able to do that. Shane's ideas were that it could possibly be done, but he wasn't able to give us a guarantee that we would not have to slow down or detour off of that route, which obviously is a concern to us because there's not a lot of area out there to detour semis off of to get around County Road 200 West. And obviously it's going to push more traffic over to County Road 0, Garner Street, and then obviously out to 200, I guess, would be the closest place you could take to go around to come back in 350 on the other side. That would be your opportunities there. So that's kind of how it was left. I'll be happy to answer any other questions. I may have missed some things here, looking at all these emails. And it was confirmed by Melissa Patton on the letting side of it. We had a State Road 28 meeting the other day on Zoom, and she was letting me, I was concerned because what I was hearing from Shane and what I was hearing from her was different. But she confirmed, obviously, that obviously that job's already let. You can't turn it around. But the difference between stoplight and roundabout, where you can, where you can see it coming in on the project side of things. Roundabout definitely be at the project. And then it'll have its own, whether it's a stoplight or a roundabout, it'll have its own letting date, it'll have its own contractor doing that work out there. So that's kind of what I have for you. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer. We can get a hold of Shane. He's been really good about getting back to us very quickly on any questions you might have.
Jason, what's the timeline of when you need an answer?
That's basically, he's not giving me the timeline. that's something I would say you want to figure it out pretty quick. Obviously, in regards to when the project would be taken care of, you probably got some time, but, you know, if you're gonna go with a stoplight, obviously, you know, that starts sooner than around or you can, so, you know, I think, you know, the contractors, people involved with the project probably would like to know this and get an answer.
Jason? Have we had a chance to talk to the industry and the people that actually have semis that use it a lot, their feelings about how they would like one way or the other for their trucking?
No, I have not.
We might see if Shan could have the chamber survey industry out there or something, just to give their input as well, so at least they have a voice in the process.
Sure.
The only thought I have is making sure that center aisle is wide enough so semis can get around it without climbing the wall.
So, yeah, that's not an issue at all, Clarence. It's been no problem. That was one of the things that John's buddy Westfield mentioned, and one of the things that Shane's mentioned, and obviously be plenty of room for the semis to maneuver that. You know, I think maybe at the beginning when they were starting to put those in, had some issues in other communities that was rectified pretty quick, like obviously, I think the one in 32 and 421, somebody drove right over the top of it. So I don't think that was more the design. I think it might have just been somebody not paying attention. But obviously, wherever these are put in any community, they're going to have semis, they're going to have large traffic, emergency vehicles, and that's well taken care of. One thing I might mention, you know, and this is nothing against NDOT, but obviously NDOT's cost would be down if we go with a stoplight versus a roundabout. He mentioned that in here, but, you know, taking a look at some of the drawbacks to a roundabout, sometimes you wonder if that's not due to the fact that maybe that saves in a little bit of money. But anyway, you know, he had a lot of good things to say, and like I said, the only thing he really couldn't give us a direct answer on was you know, if we would have to completely close that intersection. Now, I mean, I'm guessing there's going to be times that they'll have to do it for short periods of time. That's probably a no-brainer. But as far as it being shut down the entire time and the work being done, I don't think that would be the case. But he just really couldn't give us a straight answer on it.
Jason, would you think that we're at a roundabout at this particular location, and I don't know how you would have this statistic, but would this roundabout experience a larger percentage of larger vehicles than the most common roundabout that we would see maneuvering through outskirts of a city or a town? And I'm only thinking of, yes, there could be a bypass lane, but if we in cars, or those of us that are less comfortable with roundabouts, are having to maneuver that each and every time we're entering, that could be off-putting, I think, to some of our individuals who are driving.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Megan, because John told me, you know, he said his buddy in Westfield has seen this numerous times. He said, well, I'm not kidding you, I'm telling you the truth, that he said they've had accidents at times where people that don't drive them very often or aren't used to them or are older in age, at times they will drive around it because they don't know how to get out. They don't know they don't know where they need to go. And it's not a funny thing. I mean, it's just people don't know how to drive them sometimes. And I think the older the age of people that we're dealing with, that's where I have that problem. So but there is those kind of occasions that happen. And he said that more times than you would think.
I'm just thinking, if I'm driving in my little Kia Soul and I've got a couple of grain trucks competing with me to try and exit stage left, anyway.
I think it's one of those things like that I guess I would respond to. There's no more now because my son lives away from here and very cautious as I'm entering. And obviously staying in the same lane. My wife used to get on me. She said, "You got to stay over here. You can't drive in both of them. You're going to drive in one or the other." So I'm very cautious about that. And obviously taking the outside lane is the easiest if you're in a bigger vehicle or something. But, you know, I do like the fact that he did have stats saying that the accidents at the roundabouts locations are extremely lower as far as serious incidents.
I'll just mention how this came about is the previous administration had asked for the roundabout so that it would be a gateway to the city of Frankfurt, but I'm not sure that was the initial thoughts on the project. And so they came to me and asked me if I wanted to continue with that or go back to the traffic light. Well, I didn't want to make a decision on this without the council's backing, just in case if we do the roundabout, there's some expense involved. There'd have to be some money funded for that. But that's how that all came about in the beginning. I think the traffic light was on the original plans, but then he had asked for that to be changed to a roundabout. So I'm really looking to the council right now for what you're thinking. I'd like to get a consensus. If you don't want to tonight, I understand that, but if we could, maybe in the next few weeks, have some idea what you're thinking.
I did ask him really, since you're talking about cost, and it's not emails or anything that you guys would receive, but obviously depending on what, every community is different as to what they want to do with the roundabout once it's built. So you really can't give me an idea on cost. It would just kind of be up to us as to what we want to do with it. You know, we had obviously people to talk to about what they did, but I think just give the impact cost on what might be, just be able to how we want to do things out there.
Does anybody else have any questions, concern on there? See,
I think Steve brought up a good point that it would probably pull the industry very quickly. The ones that are affected directly around there and to get their deposits. And then I think you should probably be able to expect some input from the council by the next meeting. We can email you.
okay, that sounds good. So we'll reach out to Shannon will help us with that and reach out to the industry.
If there's anything in you, you obviously can email me or give me a call. If something comes up after the meeting, I'll give a Shane. Like I said, he's been pretty quick about getting back to us. And, you know, thank you. So I'll call Shane when I leave here tonight. I will see what we can do.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Jason, for your work on it. Appreciate it. We have this on the agenda, but I would like to talk about the 2021 budget. The finance committee has met and we made some recommendations for changes as far as bringing this budget forward. It's going to come on first reading, the first meeting in September. So we really need to get the ordinance ready. I don't know if you've had a chance to review these changes, but I'm sure Eric and Megan would be able to speak on those changes as well.
So the council tasked the finance committee to take the information that Brady provided last time when they told us that we would need to cut into the $60,000 range to have a technically balanced budget, which would, you know, try to be attractive as we submit it to the state. So given that number we made a few suggestions along with the mayor's suggestions. We were able to you know, pull a little bit of money out of some personal services and transfer some monies from the lower public safety, or sorry, from city general to the lower public safety, the lower net down. So basically have the net impact to get about $68,000 out of that, which if you add up your numbers, I think you don't take MVH restricted into account because the way it's calculated and all the others, you can see we're pretty well balanced out. So that was just a recommendation from the finance committee, some mild changes. We were pretty close coming out of our budget hearing. I was pretty happy with that, but that's where we're at with it. If there's any specific questions, you know, I think we could address them, but you can see in your packet there, that salmon color that's denoted at the top of each page is changed per email, August 18th. Those are specific hit that target, Reed suggested, and that should be sufficient to move on if the council agrees.
Able to work on the salary ordinance as well, so she's getting the appointed and the elected officials, salary ordinance ready based off of this. That first meeting in September, that's just for readings, so as you know, we'll have other readings that if you want to do amendments or make any changes. But if you're in favor of these changes, as you look over this, if I could have a consensus to go ahead and move forward and have Carol get the ordinance ready.
I think the finance committee, that's where we need to be at. We should pull up the number. That's my concern.
What I had last time, Eric addressed with me, probably need to go.
And as Eric said, we made some changes. We took some things out of city general, put it into the police department. So we've done some changes within the different funds. I think we look in pretty good shape. The good age restricted, of course, we know why it looks like that. Is because we're not spending those funds this year. So that's the only one that is in the higher amount. Maybe a question about, but we're gonna have plenty of cash. I'm sure this was based off of using 100% of this year's appropriations, and I just can't see that happening, so.
Mayor, I'd also like to express that when we all met with department heads to initially draft the first draft of the budget, the cooperation that we had from our department heads to not put a lot of frivolous things in the budget, to just get to the brass tacks, and everyone was so cooperative. We know we have to be as conservative as we can without losing services to our community, and I believe that's been accomplished.
I think so too. Department heads did really well when they submitted their budgets to us, and I think the council did really well. Did your part along with the finance committee. It's taken a lot of work, as we all know. We don't know where revenues are going to be, what we're going to have. We're trying not to cut services at all to our citizens, but we still have to be conservative in our spending, I'm sure, for the next few years because of what we've been going through. This does include 2% raise for our employees. I think considering the circumstances right now, this is probably where we need to be this time. I'm perfectly satisfied with this. I think it looks like a really good, I think we're headed in the right direction. Anybody else have anything? Okay, so we expect at the next meeting, we're going to have the salary ordinance for appointed and elected officials along with the budget. And then there will be a gap before the second reading. That's going to be the first meeting in October. So I don't have anything else. Does you have anything for us tonight?
Mayor, the council by resolution a meeting or two ago approved the appointment of 2 appraisers for the 7-acre parcel for the possible construction of a police station out on 48 West. Officer Shoemaker called me this afternoon and said one of those appraisers cannot perform because he doesn't qualify. And I don't remember which one it was, Scott, do you, and which?
I'm not Scott. I'm just an officer, I'm not the chief. Sure was.
Well, that's not Scott. I thought it was Scott. So we need to appoint the new appraiser, and I don't have his name.
I don't either. I don't know. He just said that the one
I
that
think by consensus, if the council just says yes,
would everyone be okay with that? Yeah, that company just said they weren't able to do it. It was their own work. So rather than pass a whole new resolution or slow the process down. So, okay. Does anyone have anything else this evening?
Well, Mayor, we did have, we were notified, we have utility service board, I think, September. So the council just needs to decide if we're going to do the same process we've done in past years of advertising and
past years, we just did it as a legal publication. And I don't know, I think Les might have provided that. If not, we can look, we might have a URL that you can use. I'm assuming the same thing, we'll advertise it, take applications. And
I think we
then,
took applications for like 2 weeks.
right, and then have a review. Who reviewed those? Do you remember? Was it finance?
The utility.
The utility, okay, utility committee. And set up a time to appoint it in person, so.
Do we want that for the September 14th meeting, okay, the process?
You might be,
Advertised.
during the advertisement, maybe on that date, you want to do to make sure that, I don't even remember how it read. Have to live within the area that receives service. And we can advertise it after that. Thank you. Anything else this evening?
Next meeting will be here.
We have reserved this location, we have reserved it. We have reserved this location.
If it changes, we'll let you know, but I think under the circumstances and with the council chambers being so small, and to social distance and to make sure that we have room for anybody from the public that wants to attend, so. Okay, I entertain a motion to adjourn. Thank you, everyone, for coming this evening.